Hi guys, Brent here, and welcome to another video. It's that time again, that little moment in between the chapters where they decide after the PTB that they want to change a few things and get some things set straight from the last PTB test that they've done. It's come around again. It is the developer update. So usually I like to review these, give my thoughts on the changes that have happened from the PTB, so I can try to give you my idea, my thoughts on the things that are going to be coming to the game. Right now, that's going to be this upcoming Tuesday. This is when all these new changes are going to come through, so let's go ahead and look at the things they changed from the PTB. If you're confused what this developer update's about, it is about the Project W chapter, including Albert Wesker as the new killer, Wesker Changes, and Ada Wong as the new survivors. So the first big change you are going to see here is blood web costs. And this is huge because one of the biggest complaints that has happened since the mid chapter, not even just the PTB, but the mid chapter in general, has been since they've taken out perks like barbecue and chili and We're Gonna Live Forever, perks that famously gave you a blood point multiplier. You basically had to rely on offerings in the blood web to get more blood points. Some people argue, and have put the math forward, that the blood point grind has actually been worse since they've updated the system. Now, no matter how you feel about that, no matter if the math checks out, it has been kind of more rough for a lot of people to get the items they want, even after they did their first pass with the items. So, what they have done is they've cut us a real bargain here that is really fantastic, and honestly, I wish it had been in the game for a really, really long time, is they have cut the prices across everything, perks, items, etc., by a vast margin. Event items and common items, which are the lowest, the most cheap items, are now 2,000 instead of 3,000. Uncommon are 2,500 instead of 4,000. Rares are 3,250 instead of 5,000, which is a huge cutback. Ultra are very rares 6,000 instead of 4,000, and ultra rares 5,000 instead of 7,000. So across the board, this is in a wonderful, incredible change that is awesome. And they highlight this down here as well, is this makes every sort of blood point gain that you get, whether it be through challenges, through dailies, through blood point codes, valued. They want more blood points earned per game as opposed to just having blood point stuff be cheaper. But like I said, like they pointed out here, all of your blood points matter more. Daily rituals, challenges, etc. All of those blood points go farther than they did before, which is really awesome and really great, and this is a wonderful change. Camping and tunneling, this is probably the biggest change. I'm gonna let you know right now, this is probably the biggest change that's coming out of this PTB developer update, is that in 6.2, we're gonna be seeing the base kit haste and endurance, the base kit BT, amped up to 10 seconds, as well as increasing the haste effect to 10% as well. The whole reason that they're changing this is because they want to disencourage camping and tunneling. So this is an interesting fix for me. I feel like we'll take this, right? Like, I'm not going to look the gift horse in the mouth. I will take this extra time. I think base kit BT being longer will help in specific circumstances, such as deep basements like Suffocation Pit, RPD, basements that are really long and take a while to get out of. That's going to help a little bit. That's going to help a bit. Also, having that increased base kit BT speed will help a lot, and it's not really too dissimilar. It's not going to affect killers too incredibly much because you in the previous chapter have been used to waiting out 12 seconds of BT anyway, and this is almost the exact same. So you're almost in the same situation you were before mid chapter, where you were waiting at, you knew everybody had BT, almost everybody brought to you BT, so you just waited out BT. It's essentially a skill you've already practiced as killer, and it's going to be effectively the same as it was before. However, there are two tidbits that I want to talk about that make me wish this wasn't what they ended up going with. Like I said, I'll take this. This is fine. This is totally fine by me. But there are two tidbits that I want to share about this that I wish they had done differently. BT being base kit helps more with camping than it does with tunneling. It essentially does very little to help with tunneling, because they can just eat through the endurance and then down you, especially if they hit you right as you come off hook, hit you immediately. You barely make it to a tile. It's just an all-wall T-wall. You go down instantly. This is not going to help tunneling. If you want to care about tunneling, you need to make tunneling have a measurable consequence, such as old Decisive Strike. Now, Decisive Strike getting its endgame component added to it was great, and I felt like if they added the endgame component to that and never touched that perk again, it was finally in a perfect, healthy, and balanced state. However, they decided to lower the stun time infamously from 5 seconds to 3. And that makes it to where, essentially, by the time you stun the killer, especially killers like Blight Oni, Huntress, Deathslayer, basically people that can affect you the moment you get off that shoulder, whether that be through distance, a ranged attack, or being able to close the distance. It essentially makes that perk kind of just useless. It really does. And that's why you don't see people really running it anymore. That is the true anti-tunnel. That is the true anti-tunnel perk. If you want tunneling to go away, you don't need more BT. You need to up the duration on DS again. Or I saw this very, very, very wonderful suggestion, which was the stun timer is based on number of gens. So if, let's say, if somebody is tunneling at 5 gens, which makes no sense because you don't need pressure at 5 gens, you're just playing, like the game has just started, you're not behind. Tunneling and camping are great killer tools that are fantastic and need to be used under crunch pressure moments. They are what gets you out of so many slippery and stressful situations as killer, and they're not inherently bad literally at all. But if you're doing it at 5 generators, you just want an easy 3v1 win, and that's it. Like, there's no other way to explain this. You just want to have an easy 3v1 match, and there's no reason to do it. You're using your catch-up tools at the beginning of the match. There's no reason to do it. So somebody made the suggestion that DS would like start at like 7 seconds at like 5 gens, but dwindle down to like 2 seconds at like 1 gen. Because if you're tunneling at, I would say like 3 gens or lower, you're just trying to win the game. If you're tunneling somebody at like 2-ish gens, give or take, you're just trying to win the game. You're not trying to get a cheap and quick win. You're just trying to win the video game, which is totally fine. 100% fine. So having kind of like a sliding scale with that would keep tunneling from being bad for people who are using it as kind of a crutch to win their games very easily, and keep it as a useful, awesome tool for killers to use against survivors that have been really just beating them up, and they really need something to get them back in the game because DS won't even be that strong in the late game. BT does not do that. BT does not do that. My other concern with this is that in the end game, this is going to be kind of strong. In the end game, this is going to be kind of strong. Then again, you know, it's like, this isn't something you're not used to. Like, there was, back in the day, old BT would also get people out of the matches pretty, you know, it would help you in the end game get out pretty easily, because if you, as long as they, like, you got body blocks going, and they, even if they do mess up and they hit you, like, they didn't wait out the full 12 seconds. Like, this is a thing that we've already dealt with before, but reintroducing that back, like, there's no such thing as, like I was just saying, there's no such thing as tunneling from 2-ish gens onward. There's no such thing as tunneling. That's you just trying to win the video game. So being punished, once again, for quote-unquote tunneling in the end game when there's no other objectives besides to kill the survivors, I feel like that was a good step that we moved away from that. That was a good thing that was kind of like no longer a thing that we had to worry about. So, I don't know. It's weird. It feels like, just like with the pain res dead man's things, sometimes behavior changes something, says it's for the betterment of the game, and then just adds it right back in for some reason. And it's just weird. So this seems to be another one of those cases, and that's those are my 2 main gripes with it. It's just like DS is really the thing that needs to be adjusted, not the base kit BT. If you want to stop tunneling, that is, or at least unhealthy tunneling, and B, that might create some problems in the end game. So I will take this. I'm okay with this, but it's not addressing the issues they want it to, I guess is what I'm saying. Metal Man is infamously getting reverted because for some reason they chose, in their infinite wisdom, with Metal Man's very, very high pick rate as a perk, to nerf it for some reason. And I don't know why they did that. It was really strange. So they're reverting Metal Man back to its normal state, and Metal Man will instead grant a unique protection effect that is not canceled by conspicuous actions like Endurance is. So essentially, if you put in all that time to actually, you know, build up Metal, which is, you know, if you've run Metal beforehand, it was really hard. Really hard to get all those stacks required to do that. You're not going to have it turned off by gens and stuff like that. So yeah, Metal's not that great of a perk. That's why it was so baffling that it got nerfed last patch. So I'm happy that they've restored Metal, because Metal Man was already so weak. So making it even worse was a big puzzling thing. So to have it back where it is with a little bit of extra, you know, sprinkling on top to make it a little nicer is great. I'm very happy about that. So we have to address some things about Wesker, which is very, very interesting. So the main thing, this is a lot. So the TLDR of this is some stuff that we won't cover in depthly, is that a lot of the bugginess with Wesker is going to be fixed. He's not going to be able to grab a survivor with that giant blimp of a hitbox that's almost similar to Huntress, but also you're not going to be bumping into stuff as much. So they've kind of like smoothed out some of the wonkier, more like, weird aspects, that just kind of unpolished aspects of his power, so you expect that to work way better. The weird thing and the important thing, at least the thing that stands out to me, is that Virulent Bond was in fact supposed to be hitting people through windows. If you played during the PTB, if you played Wesker during the PTB, you would notice that a lot of the time you would vault or do one of your bounds, or you would do one of your leaps towards the windows, and often if a survivor was vaulting through it, you would just kind of stop. Now, initially, while we were testing this, both playing as him and against him, this seemed like really frustrating and really annoying. But the more we played, it seemed more like Behavior had actually done this on purpose, because in terms of like normal chase, in terms of like running a pallet or running a pallet loop, windows seemed to be the only thing that was able to consistently consistently counter Wesker. Wesker could basically hit you from wherever he wanted in any sort of loop, and it was really hard to like mess up with his power. But the one thing that seemed to be his kryptonite, so to speak, was windows. And we kind of like, okay, well, maybe Behavior did this on purpose, because it seems like he's really strong in chase and he's really strong in terms of map traversal. So maybe his weakness is windows. Apparently that was not on purpose. Apparently he was supposed to be smacking you through the window every single time. And literally you see it here, this was not intentional. So now he's going to be hitting them every single time, even if you sit on the other side of a pallet vault. When he vaults over that, because he can vault over pallets in his power, he is going to injure them as well. So now he kind of he's kind of scary. Like, I'm sorry, he's like, a lot of people were calling his power early, right? And trying to put him as like, oh, he's S tier, he's top 5 already. And I don't think you can ever truly make that judgment with like firm intelligence, because, well, there's no way you can judge that because he's literally not out yet. But this sounds scary. Now I'm starting to see it, because if windows weren't supposed to be his kryptonite, he basically doesn't have one. He basically doesn't have a weakness. This character has no downsides. He doesn't have any. According to the PTB, according to them fixing all the weaknesses that he had that weren't intentional, he doesn't have weaknesses. This character has no drawbacks so far. Like, this character has no drawbacks whatsoever. So yeah, this is something. He's gonna be really strong, really strong. Okay, so now talking about the perk changes that they're going to be making from the PTB to live. Reinsurance was a perk that I posted about, saying that, oh, well, this seems like a bully squad can kind of gather up and spam this a bunch and make it both annoying for the killer and the person on hook. And a lot of people didn't agree with that. That video got a lot of dislikes and all that, because everybody said that, like, that's not a problem. But there are many videos that came out, as well as the one I showed in that video, that kind of showed that in the PTB, you could do this. You could hold both a game hostage, whether that be the survivor on hook, and the killer, by just walking up and having everybody just spam that effect, that power on the survivor that is on hook, and essentially like ruin everything for that person on hook and make them not able to play. And also in those weird situations where you hook somebody intentionally in the middle of like a 3-gen, that essentially doesn't do anything for you. Like, essentially they could just keep hitting that button over and over, and it was like nothing happened. However, they have done something to try and mitigate this, because it used to be, like I said, it used to be used repeatedly, but now reassurance can only be used once per hook instance. So this perk can still be chained together. Multiple suppliers are running it, so that's kind of something you can still chain this together, but it only has a maximum delay of 90 seconds. So it has a maximum 90 seconds you can put somebody on hook for, but you can't just run up and keep spanning this over and over and over again, which is nice. It's very, very nice. You can stack it, but it's only once per hook instance. So yeah. So rank and awareness, when you pick somebody up and they're on your shoulder, you see the auras of people around you. That is the perk. And it used to be that this aura continued after after you had already hooked the person for a couple seconds or something like that. And this would be extended by Lethal Pursuer as well. They are taking away the latter part where it continues a little bit after you finally hook the person because of Starstruck, making survivors exposed. This is all something we knew about. This is something we were afraid of, specifically having to do with Starstruck Nurse. Because imagine a Starstruck Nurse with awakened awareness and seeing exactly where those people are with aura reading to go get the value. That is why this is having its stuff taken away. And I have to say to you, like literally, this is like a solid example of the fact that Nurse is quite literally bottlenecking balance in this video game. Nurse is quite literally bottlenecking balance in this video game. This perk, which was fine, is having part of its perk power removed because Nurse's attacks count as M1s. That is why. Because it has too much synergy with Starstruck Nurse, this is being removed. This perk is literally having a very, very poignant, and you can't say it's conjecture because they said it. It's right there. You can point to it. Nurse literally hurt this perk. The existence of Nurse and her absurd synergy with Starstruck, which is already a crazy perk, literally harmed this perk. She is literally bottlenecking the balance in this game. Like, this is the proof of the pudding. She is bottlenecking balance in this game because they won't change that. This perk didn't need to be changed. You just needed to make sure that Nurse's attacks, you need to make sure Nurse's attacks count as M2s. That way this didn't happen. That was the right choice. This was not the right choice. And you can't say that like ruined so many builds on her because there's so many fun perks that still work with M2s. You just have to do other things. This is just like not addressing the problem, in my opinion. Low profile got changed because essentially it was hide your scratch marks when you're the last survivor alive, which doesn't really, like, woohoo, it's not even that big of a deal. So for the release, they've changed it to include anytime you're the only survivor who is not dying, unhooked, or dead as well. So, woohoo, yay. Better Than New is a lot stronger. I don't know if it'll matter too much, but Better Than New is a lot stronger. Instead of having a 35-second window in which you can use the buff you got after the person using it healed you, now it's until you're injured again. So it's kind of more like Hattie's perk with the totems. It's until you're injured again. Also, the bonus has been increased to 16%, but only for healing, chest opening, and totem and cleansing and blessing. So if you're worried about them like making this perk way too strong, making it a generous perk, it appears that the 16% bonus is only to the more like alternative objective and altruism stuff and not the gen rushing. So don't have to worry about that, thankfully. Last, and this is what we will leave you with today, is that they've removed some of the palettes on RPD, West, and East Wing. One of the big, like, I love the new RPD wings a lot. I feel like they're a lot more breathable. They're a lot more fun to play on both sides. And overall, it's a very great, awesome, healthy change for the game. But one of the big complaints was there was a lot of god palettes. So infamously, the main hall, which exists in both the east and the west sides of the maps, the new iterations had but 2 god palettes blocking the stairs. There's both of them, and that room already has a pallet in it, you know, down there by the desk. So and then, you know, if you're up on the left side, the west side, there's that god pallet down that hallway near the bathrooms, near the showers. Like, essentially, like, it was just like god pallet and the god pallet started making it kind of giving it that Gideon's effect, where you drop the god pallet, run into another safe pallet, into a god pallet, which was already, we don't like that on that map, so we don't want it here. So yeah, they're going to remove some of those. Once again, we don't know exactly what that looks like because they haven't, you know, stated it. But yeah, so they are addressing that, thankfully. So yeah, that is the changes for the developer update. I think it's mostly good. I feel like some of the changes they've made really they don't address the core issues going on, but they are going to be helpful. They are mostly good. It's just that, like, they're not like taking it to the core of a lot of the issues. Besides the blood point thing, perfect, amazing. But a lot of this seems kind of like beating around the bush and not really getting to the core of the issue. So mostly good, but there's a lot of elephants in the room that weren't addressed. So yeah. That's how I feel about it. What did you guys think of the developer update? Are you ready to play this coming up Tuesday, or are some of these changes something that, you know, you're kind of afraid of now? Let me know down in the comments below. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow, and if I don't, I will see you when I see you. Goodbye.